because it tends to do some regulation of your heart rhythm. And the scientists running it were kind of concerned because the men on the trial kept asking for more. At first they thought it maybe was addictive. Interesting choice of words. But then when they discovered the side effect, immediately it is now not really considered a good candidate for a heart medication, but a wise scientist said, let's not throw this one away just yet. Let's do some more studies. They had no problem getting volunteers for that study. But Viagra works on a purely physical mechanism. It basically increases blood flow. And it just so happens to increase blood flow to certain areas of a gentleman's body more than others. I actually think it reduces blood flow to the brain. Because, okay, the chemical Viagra. If you buy Viagra that comes from Pfizer or one of its subsidiaries, you're probably getting the chemical. This generic Viagra or herbal Viagra, that's my favorite. Herbal Viagra. Viagra does not grow on trees. If it did, the story of Adam and Eve would have been very different. There is no herbal Viagra. Herbal, that's my favorite one. That's my favorite one too. Natural cures. This is all natural. That's good, right? I don't want chemicals. I want something natural. What kind of things are natural? Let's see. Cyanide, that's natural. Strychnine, yes. Botulism, mercury, asbestos. Syphilis, yeah, that's a good natural thing. Got a headache? I have a cure for you. It's natural. Come here, boy. There is an herb called Angelica. What a nice name, Angelica. Doesn't it sound great? Angelica is often hawked to people as a stomach settler. You have an upset stomach, take some Angelica, because it does. It is true. It's an effect we can measure. Angelica will settle your stomach. And it is sold that way, and people snap it up because it's natural. It's a plant. Poison ivy is a plant too, you know. And there's an interesting tale. A young lady and her husband had been trying to start a family for a number of years, and every time they kind of got started, the woman would suffer a miscarriage. And after the fourth or fifth, she finally went to the doctor and said, look, we have to find out what's going on. And at first the doctor couldn't find anything wrong until he finally got her to list everything she took. Not just medications, all herbal supplements. And when Angelica came up, he said, why are you taking that? And she said, because in medieval Europe, they used it to cure stomach ailments. And the doctor said, well, great. Well, in ancient Egypt, they used to use it for birth control. Because it has the habit of inducing abortion in human females. Yeah. Anytime I go in, I see, I was in the apothecary over here. They have a whole thing with the natural supplements on it there. We'll get to my favorite thing about natural in a moment. The greatest crime against nature and humanity. The second greatest. I'll tell you what the greatest crime today is. Does everybody know what thimerosal is? Does everybody not know what thimerosal is? Oh, I have a lesson for you. Thimerosal is a aromatic compound. It's got some R group over here. But that has that. Thimerosal is a preservative that they put into vaccinations. They put it into vaccinations because it has been tested over and over and over. It has been found to be safe. It is not toxic to human beings. It does not cause long-term effects that we've been able to measure. And it does not interact with a variety of vaccines, especially proteins. Proteins can be very, very sensitive as drugs. You have to be careful what you put in to try to preserve them because the preservative may interact with the drug. Thimerosal has been used since about the 1950s. Somewhere along the line, somebody noticed it has mercury in it. Now this is where I get pissed off, people's ignorance of chemistry. Sodium. Sodium is a very, very shiny, soft metal, incredibly reactive with water. I cut off a slice, so I have to store it under oil because the water in the air will react with it. I cut off a slice of sodium, I throw it into water and jump back because it will detonate. The force of the reaction is so strong. Chlorine. Chlorine, a green, heavier than air gas, very, very popular in western or eastern France back about 100 years ago. Think about it. Chlorine, magnificent gas, gets into your body and starts to sear the lung tissue. It takes you about 3 to 4 days to die, coughing up your lungs in black clots. React them together and you get salt. Sodium chloride. It does not have any of the properties of sodium. It does not have any of the properties of chlorine. It is a completely different material. That is not mercury. That is a compound which has a mercury atom in it. Some guy out there, in fact I wrote his name down. What was it? Oh yes, Dr. Andrew Wakefield. I should memorize this. Andrew Wakefield, he's a British physician, published a paper in which he said, we have discovered a link between thimerosal and autism in children.
Oh, not that shit.
It's the mercury in thimerosal. The vaccine that you give your child is causing autism. That's why there's a great outbreak of autism now. It's the vaccine. Thousands of people across Northern Europe refuse to vaccinate their children using the measles, rubella, and mumps vaccine, a triple vaccine. Oddly enough, we are now seeing an epidemic of measles, rubella, and mumps across Northern Europe. We're seeing in the US because people say, I don't want my child to have autism. Measles, okay, anybody here ever had measles? Just a few, just a few. In my day, 3/4 of the kids in the class would have had measles. It's a miserable disease. It's very uncomfortable. About 5% of children who get it die from it. Measles can be a fatal childhood disease. Oh, but we'll get autism! We can't do that! Don't vaccinate my children! Let me tell you something about Dr. Wakefield. 6 months before he published his findings of a link between thimerosal and autism, he filed a patent for an alternative vaccine that did not contain thimerosal. And as soon as he published the paper linking thimerosal and autism, he started a company to market that alternative vaccine. Coincidence? Responsible for the current epidemic of measles in Europe and throughout the world. And there are people out there, we have one in the United States, she calls herself Jenny McCarthy, who is the big champion of this. She has a child. Well, you see, Jenny McCarthy unfortunately has followers who don't vaccinate your children. And that's her thing. Thimerosal is evil, even though Dr. Wakefield has been disbarred, his medical license has been revoked, he was essentially booted out of England, and he is now essentially an international criminal, except in the United States, where they still worship him because, oh, he's saving our children from autism. Remember what I said? Remember what I said? We are so hardwired. Autism is a horrible ailment. I know. My nephew is profoundly autistic. I have to see the pain that causes my family. Every parent with an autistic child has the same question. Why? Why did this happen to me? And they are seeking, they want a reason, they want to know what happened. Why me? Did I do something wrong? And all it takes is somebody to come by and say, "It was him! He did this to your child!" Now, I can give you as much evidence as I can think of. I can show you scientific papers that will stack to the ceiling. I could bring this entire room full of experts. And the mother of the autistic child will never stop believing that this doctor who gave my child the vaccine caused the autism. She cannot admit, it is too painful to admit, that autism is a genetic disease. And I'm sorry, ma'am, something in your genetic makeup caused your child to be that way. That's called nature. It happens. This Jenny McCarthy, by the way, has long been claiming that there is a link between thimerosal and autism. She also says that you can cure autism with a special diet. Her own son was cured of autism by using this diet. Not only that, but her son is also what she calls an indigo child, a child with a blue aura who represents the next stage in evolution of human beings. I'm not making this up. Jenny McCarthy, look her name up online. But all of this stuff comes wrapped in the trappings of science. They always have Dr. Wakefield, right? You know, they get him up there with his lab coat and everything and all his degrees from the University of Auschwitz on the wall behind him here. Yes, Jenny McCarthy, use a natural diet. Oh, yes, natural. Natural is good for you. Oh, I know that natural is good for me, so I want only natural things, so I only eat organic food. How many people here prefer to eat organic food? I know you're lying. Yeah, everyone's like, You're being had. I'm sorry. You are being had. You are being taken by charlatans. Organic farming. Let me tell you some things about organic farming. First off, it pisses me off that for hundreds of years, people have been coming to us, insects are eating our crops. The crops are failing. There's mold. We can't get them to grow any bigger than this. Science, help us, please. Science, do something. And science did. Science made the crops produce. Science got the insects to stay away. Science got the mold to stop growing. Science fed the world. Science brought hunger down to the minimal point. And everybody's saying, "You evil people! You put chemicals on our food!" Didn't you want us to? Yes! But only natural chemicals! I used to work in the agrochemical industry. That's right, I was in pesticides for a while. A little irony there, yes? But I worked with agricultural chemicals. First off, I saw what goes into organic materials. If you think a guy's going out there and picking a bunch of grape leaves and grinding them up and taking the juice and making a pesticide out of it, the stuff in there is some eye-popping shit in organic farming. How they can get away with it, I don't know. It's fraud. It's charlatanism. And here is something else. If I were to go in the United States, if I were to purchase an apple, I'm going to go to the regular section. Here is an apple. This apple will cost me 59 cents for this apple. It's just a little apple. It's a little Macintosh. And this apple, it's red, it's plump, it's tasty. And it has been grown on a farm where it was treated with a, what do they use on apples? I'm trying to remember. Methylparathione. I'm sorry. It was, I won't bother drawing. Chemists love to draw shit. This apple has been treated with methylparathione. Methylparathione, here, oh boy. This is not intended to insult anyone. It's not intended to to open any old wounds. It is a simple fact of history.